Chapter 2, Part 2 of All Things Holy. Um, we will talk about three more sections for this, which are the holy places and the holy houses, as well as the holy days. So we're going to the holy places right now. So I want you to imagine that you have your passport with you, and then tatakhan natin yung mga visa ninyo at pupunta na tayo dito sa mga lugar na ito. So our first stop will be our trip to Jerusalem, a hot spot and a holy city. So Jerusalem has many names, which are Jerusalem, Zion, Aliyah, Capitolina, for example. So by the different groups who has controlled Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is unlike other towns, however, because all Abrahamic faith considered Jerusalem as sacred. So, for Judaism and Christianity, Jerusalem is the most important place on earth, and Muslim places it as third holiest place after Mecca and Medina. So, Jerusalem is where the Temple of the Mount in is located, as well as the site of Mount Moriah. And also, we will talk about kung ano yung connection niya for Christians. So for Christians, Jerusalem is the holiest of all holy places for Christians for a variety of reasons, all having to do with Jesus Christ. Of course, Christians believe that Jesus spent his last days of his life here in Jerusalem. So, of course, in Jerusalem, doon nangyari yung Last Supper, wherein in the Thursday or the night before he was betrayed, he took bread and gave thanks, and he broke the bread and gave it to his disciple. And here he gave the the qualification, as well as how they should remember the Lord's sacrifice or the Lord's Supper here in the Last Supper. So this is one picture painted by one of the artists in the world. And then also in Jerusalem is the site for the Garden of Gethsemane, wherein Jesus cried, and according to the scripture, he cried not only tears but also blood. Then also in Jerusalem, you will see the Via de la Rosa, or the 14th station of the cross. So you will walk the way of Jesus into the cross of Calvary in this very street wherein you will be walking. So isa talaga sa mga pangarap ko din sa buhay is go to Jerusalem. But of course, we will just go here virtually, pero hopefully one time we will also go here in real life. Also, Christian, especially in the 40 days period of the Lent, go there to their churches to walk to the route of Jesus to understand the meaning of his death and resurrection. So, for Christians to go to the actual site in Jerusalem and walk in the 14th station is a very holy thing to do. Also, in Jerusalem, we will see the Calvary, the cave wherein Joseph of Arimathea secretly buried Jesus Christ, and also in that tomb where he was seen by the people and was actually pinagkamalan siya ng ghost. And after a year, in around 326, the Emperor Constantine built a shrine, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or the commemorating. So ito yung tomb. This is the cross, or the Calvary, the upper picture, and then in the middle is the tomb, and then this is the site wherein Emperor Constantine constructed this church. Then for Muslims, this is the third holy place. So according to Surah 17:1, the Muslim interpret the Quranic praise to Sparta's mosque. It means Jerusalem. So this is the mosque in Jerusalem, wherein you can see it in every picture of Jerusalem, the golden one. So, Muslim believe that in 1619, of the night of Ascent, Muhammad, who was in Medina at the time, was awakened from a sleep and taken to Jerusalem to the Temple of Mount. From there, Muhammad, accompanied by the angel Gabriel, ascended to heaven on his horse, Burak. During his trip, Muhammad received the rules for Muslim prayer, met with important prophets from the past, such as Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and came into God's presence, according to Muslim connection. And 1691, this one is the Dome of the Rock. which is located in the Temple of the Mount. So this is believed that it is the that Muslim believe that it's the end point of Muhammad's night journey from Mecca to Jerusalem and from there to heaven. So let's go now to India eastward. So we will go to the water, the holy places, which are the holy rivers for the Hinduism. So water is a symbol of purification and sanctification for Indians and plays an important role in many religions. In the Hindu faith, the water of the Ganges River is sacred, and the river is associated with Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction and construction. According to the Hindu belief, the Ganges River, personified as a goddess of Ganga, once flowed only to heaven, but she was asked to come to the earth to purify the dead. So Ganga agreed to break her fall, which would have scattered the earth. She fell into Shiva's head. So this is an example of the picture of Ganga. More sacred than the Gangas alone, however, is the place where the water of the Ganges converge with the water from the other sacred river. For this reason, the holiest places in India is where Ganges meet the Jamuna and the Sarasvati. So Jamuna is this picture is another real river flowing from the Himalayas, personified as the sister of the goddess Ganga. So Ganga and Jamuna are sisters. Therefore, the Jamuna River is associated with Vishnu, Hindu god who protects and preserves the world. Sharavas, Sarasvati is a mythical invisible river wherein Hindus believe that the river is personified as the daughter or the granddaughter or companion, depending on your predilection of Brahma, the Hindu god who created the universe and all things in it. So this is a picture of Sarasvati. And these three rivers bleed in Allahabad, wherein every 12 years, millions of Hindus, like in this picture, flock to one of the four sacred sites to take part in the Kumbh Mela, a huge religious festival. So in addition to the Allahabad, the festival occurs in Haridwar, which is in the Ganges River, Ujjain on the Sipra River, and at Nasaik in Godavari River. So this is another picture. If you can see, there is a multitude of people in the Ganges River. According to the legend, so here we are again in Hindu faith. Of course, we know that they have a lot of legends and stories. So according to the legends, the good and the bad or the demon fought over the vessel, and this vessel contained elixir. So dating lang ng ano to, ano, parang mga games lang natin ngayon. If you are playing games, mobile games man yan or computer games, they are looking for an elixir. So this is one of their inspiration. So that contained the elixir of immortality. Things got out of hand, and the four drops of elixir first fell on earth. Thus, the four sacred sites for Hindu people. So, according to them, during each mela or celebration, Hindu believe that the river changes back to the elixir, to the original elixir, and it is an opportunity for the pilgrims to purify themselves. So, for this reason, during the Kumbh Mela, Hindus bath in the sacred river, believing that they will be protected. Dying people who also na naliligo in this Kamela are freed from rebirth or the moksa. So let's go for the Muslims Mecca. After that, we go upward to Saudi Arabia. For Muslims, Mecca is the most sacred on earth. So in this place, Muslim face when they pray in that destination to Hajj, and once in a lifetime pilgrimage that Muslims must make if they can. Of course, if the city also is as historically important to Islam. So as we discussed earlier, Mecca is the place where their Prophet Muhammad was raised and born. So Mecca is the place, according to Muslims, Adam finally forgiven by God and reunited with Eve, and God saved Hagar and Ishmael, who were near death after Abraham abandoned them at Sarah's urging. Muhammad was born and lived a large portion of his life, and God began the revelation of the Quran to Muhammad in Mecca. That is why it is the most important place for Islamic people. Beyond this, Mecca is sacred because it is the place where the Kaaba stands. So Kaaba, in fact, is Muslim pray toward the Kaaba, not in Mecca. So it is because otherwise, if you are in Mecca, what direction would the Muslim face during their prayer? So they have to place the Kaaba. Even then, it's not so much the place, but the purpose of the place that is the focal point of the prayer. So according to Islamic tradition, the fallen yet forgiven Adam built the Kaaba as a testament to God's mercy and power. Centuries later, Abraham and Ishmael rebuilt the Kaaba as an act of devotion, and in this way, the Kaaba is the early reminder of God's omnipotence and mercy and humankind appropriate response to that power and gratitude. That is why they are facing the Kaaba when they are praying. Medina, the second part, is the second most holy site for Islam located in Saudi Arabia. It is formerly known as Trib and was the city who welcomed Muhammad and his follower after he fled Mecca, if you will remember the discussion last time. So it is surrounded by the acceptance and the political opportunity both Muhammad and the Muslim faith were able to flourish. In Medina, you can also find the following. So well, you can find them in if you're Muslim, because if you're not Muslim, you're not actually allowed to go there because it's off limit for non-Muslim. So it is a rare opportunity for us to see the burial site of Muhammad. So this is the burial site of Muhammad in Medina. So in the Prophet Mosque, famous mosque also the Mosque Kuba, the Kila, and Al Rema. So these are the first picture here is the Mosque of Quiba, and there's the Qiblas at Al Rema, this is the middle, and then this is the Islamic University in Medina, which is the rightmost picture near Systems Plus College Foundation. Rome, next is Rome for the Catholics. Rome is nicknamed the Eternal City. So Rome is also the home for Vatican City, an independent state located within the city of Rome. So it is a city within a city and serve as the headquarters for the Roman Catholic Church. So why do the church establish Vatican in Rome? For this couple of reasons. First, Rome is the first place where Saint Peter and Saint Paul were crucified. This is the place, as said in history, circa 64 and circa 67. Rome is the place, well, one of the places where early Christians were persecuted, because if we will look at Revelation, there are a lot of places where early Christians were persecuted. So Rome is the powerhouse. That is why it was established in Rome. So Vatican occupies slightly more than 100 acres of land and has a population of 1,000 people. Just imagine, mas parang kasing dami lang ng senior high school grade 11 natin, yung dami ng tao sa Rome. I mean sa Vatican. And the Pope is the absolute monarch. So he is the head of the state in the Vatican City. And as we all know, Vatican City is the smallest country on earth, and it has its own flag, as you can see here. And the Vatican is home for the some of the world's richest religious arts and antiquities. So one of the spiritual um, treasures found in Vatican connected to Rome are is the crucifixion of of Saint Peter, which is the site of the Basilica of Saint Peter, which is this. This is the outside of the St. Peter's Basilica and the inside of St. Peter's Basilica. So next is the Sistine Chapel, wherein it was designed or commissioned by Giovanni de Dolci and commissioned by the Pope Sixtus IV, built in the Sistine Chapel between 1473 and 1481, and it was adorned by the artwork of Michelangelo, which are the Last Judgment and the scene from the Book of Genesis, which are this. Of course, the one in the lower part is a very famous one because you can see that depiction from other artists as well, which is the depiction of the Genesis, and then the upper one is the Judgment in the last day. Also in the Vatican City, we can find the Christian catacombs, which are the tombs, sculptures, paintings, inscription of the early Christians. As you can see here, in the bottom parts are pictures, paintings of early Christians, as well as the tombs of the early Christians. Many martyrs and popes, including 9 popes from the 3rd century, are buried in these catacombs. And then let's go to a far province of China, which is the Taishan Mountain Tile located in Shandong province, China. And it is the site for many people towers and other structures that celebrate the Taoist faith. This area is the major pilgrimage point of the follower of Taoism. So some of the major structure in that Mount Tai are the Azure Cloud Temple, wherein women pray here for assistance during pregnancy, the Red Gate Palace, which is dedicated to the princess of Azure Cloud, who was the daughter of the god of Taishan, the White Cloud Temple, located in Beijing. This temple is the home for the Chinese Taoist Association. Taoists view this temple as the most important Cuisine temple in China. The intricate architecture of this White Cloud Temple dates back in the beginning of the Ming Dynasty, and according to them, also the White Cloud Temple was built on the site of the Taichung Temple. So we can also see in this White Cloud Temple the big statue of Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoist faith. And then let's move on to the holy houses. So tuloy po kayo sa mga bahay. First, let's go to the synagogues, the Jewish house of worship. So the Jewish house of prayer, study, and gathering has many names. So they have one name for for the things that they're doing. So first is the Knesset, Sule, Kehilat, Kodesh, Temple, Congregation, Jewish Center, and more. But in Greek, the synagogue is a generic name for most people, and we recognize it as something like synagogue or a church. So the synagogue is the place of study or the Be'et Midrash and a house of gathering if it's Be'et Knesset. And most important thing is a synagogue is the ark or the Aaron Hakosh, a container or a cabinet that contains the scroll or the Torah. So here an example of the Aron Hakosh or the container or the cabinet that contains the Torah or the scrolls. The ark represent the Holy of Holies. If you can see in the picture, there's a curtain, and then behind the curtain is the Holy of Holies, originally the inner sanctum of Solomon's temple that contained the original tablet holding the Ten Commandments. As such, it's the most sacred place in a synagogue that the focal point of prayer. So the ark has doors as well as inner curtain, and it's called the paroquet. This curtain is named after and modeled from the curtain in the sanctuary of the first temple in Jerusalem. So if you can see in the picture, the priest is praying before the curtain, and after the curtain is the Ark of the Covenant. So during certain prayers, the door or the curtain of the ark may be opened or closed. Typically, a member of the synagogue opened and closes, pulled the curtains, and being the person to do this is considered an honor. So not all Jewish people can actually open and close the curtains because you should be an Levite or a priest. So next is the ark. Also, the ark or the synagogue also has the eternal light or the tamid that symbolizes the eternal flame that once burned on the temple of Mount. Next, also in the synagogue that the ark is raised in the front is called the bima. In some Orthodox churches, the bima is in the middle. If you can see the table-like thing, it is the bima, wherein the Torah is read every Monday, Thursday, and on Sabbath. And in other synagogue, the bima is up front. If you can see in the picture at your left. Synagogue tried to put the ark on the wall that faces Jerusalem so that the worshiper face Jerusalem during prayer. If the synagogue can't be arranged that way, the worshiper face the ark. So if you can see, if you will remember in the book of Daniel, Daniel is facing Jerusalem whenever he kneeled down and pray 3 times a day. So in the synagogue also, you will see a seven candelarium, which is called the menorah. But of course, this menorah, which has seven example, in the synagogue you won't find an exact representation of any holy object that were once in the temple because that is forbidden for the Jewish people. So for example, if in the synagogue the menorah has um has eight, in the temple, of course, it has seven. So it should not be the exact representation. Hindi pwedeng magkapareho or eksakto sila. Then let's go to temples. The temples were places where people go to worship or perform religious rituals. So some temples serve basically the same purpose as mosques, synagogue, and churches. That is, the places for believers to gather and worship. Only priests who commune with God can go to other temples because the purpose of temples varies from religion to religious. Some, like Jain and Buddhist temples, are elaborate and highly decorated. Others, like Shinto, are simple. So let's go to the temple of the Buddhism. So don't sit under the Bodhi tree with anyone else but me. Says Buddhist temple, one of Buddhism most sacred moment was when Buddha found enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. So this is the Bodhi tree at your left. And to commemorate this moment, Buddhists built the Mahabodhi temple. So the site of Buddha's enlightenment. So this is the Mahabodhi temple, and this temple is like most Buddhist temple built later, contain a large statue of Buddha, like what is in our right now, and that heart of temple is the shrine, which is often hold a lock of the hair or bone of Buddha. So Buddha was actually burned during his burial, and then some of his remains were scattered throughout the Buddhist faith. So they put it in certain parts of their temples. So you won't find regular daily prayers for Buddhists, unlike the Christian who are or the Catholics or the Muslims as well as the Jews. They have regular prayer times, and we will be talking about that in the midterms. But for Buddhists, it is more on personal note. So kumbaga, they're not encouraging or hindi na, wala sa teaching nila na araw-araw ka dapat mag-pray. Pero for them, it is your own choice if you want to be devoted or to have personal devotion, your ancestral worship, meditation, and offering for monks. So for individual devotion is so important for Buddhism. In fact, that Buddhists can construct shrine in their own homes. So ako kasi before, I went to, yun nga, yung mga Buddhists, I have an influence also in my life sa mga Buddhists. And makikita talaga yung mga bahay nila, merong mga ganito sa mga bahay nila. So this is an example of shrines or parang mini temple or mini shrine sa mga bahay nila. As you can see, you will be finding an image of Buddha. This image, whether statue or picture, represent the Buddha who passed on his teaching and the potential for everyone to attain the enlightenment. And this paint on special shelf of the wall is a place of honor. And then you will also see a vase or a tray of flower, and yung flowers na yun, it symbolizes the impermanence of living things and usually arranged to represent some aspect of Buddhist teaching. So for example, a single flower represents the unity of all things, four flowers can represent the Four Noble Truths, and so on. As you can see in this picture, apat yung flowers, therefore it represents the Four Noble Truths. Next are the candles. You can see them in the bottom part, or the lamp. A lighted candle or lamp symbolizes the light of enlightenment. And then you can also see incense. In this part, you will not actually see incense, but incense are typically located at this part. If you can see the cursor at this part of they will put incense here because the fragrance fill the room. Incense symbolizes how Buddha's teaching spread throughout the world. And then you will see also a relic of the stupa wherein or bird with a dome. This is an example of a small or a relic of stupa or of the Buddha are buried within a dome-like shrine or stupa. A miniature of one at whom other can represent Buddha's relic or it contained family relics. Scriptures also, if you can see, there are scriptures. Most people have a Buddhist text or near the altar. Both refers to and remind Buddhists of the middle way. So if you can see here, here's the scripture for the middle way. Also, you will see a water offering. Here is the water offering, food offering, and music offering in some Buddhist traditions. So speaking of stupa, stupa is differently designed in different parts of the world. his, his ashes were divided into 10 parts, and each part going to particular Buddhist shrine called the stupa. So there are 10. Just imagine your ashes were divided into 10. And then next is are the Hindu temples. Temples by the Ganges as an example here. This is one of the temples in the Ganges River, signifying the liberating quality of the river's water. Hindus believe that, for example, that bathing in Ganges can free them of the cycle of death. And then inside the Hindus people, in the inside the Hindus temples, you will see example of this, the images of their different gods. As you can see in this picture, there are three gods here. The god that looks like an elephant here, and the other gods here. And for them, this picture actually are essentially come alive when the presence of the divinities are present. So they really revere these pictures or these images. Then let's go to churches. In the early churches, the Christian community, people gathered to share stories about Jesus, to pray for each other, and receive the Eucharist, called the Lord's Supper today. And strengthened by this experience, they created communities of faiths where people shared everything they had. So they practiced communism. As an example here, you can see people sharing a meal, and the early church needed to function this way because it was small and endured periodic persecution. So they are basically underground or illegal at that moment. But in the 313 CE, the Emperor Constantine, because he has been captured or he has been captivated by the gospel, he was shared by his mother. Therefore, the Emperor Constantine made Christianity and recognized Christianity as a legitimate religion and declared all people in the Roman Empire to be Christian. So naging ano siya, sapilitan na ang pagiging Kristiyano because the emperor is a Christian. Therefore, the Christian churches were suddenly free of persecution. As a picture here, this is Emperor Constantine, and he declared that Christianity is an imperial religion. So prayer become more structured, and central of the gathering of the people in the church was the celebration of the Mass in the Roman Catholic and the reenactment of the Last Supper or the Eucharist. For a while, Christianity embodied one group of people that were, and at least officially, pretty much on the same page when it came to expression of faith and worship, the role of clergy, and the church hierarchy. And came the year 1054, when the schism that divided the early church into essentially two branches of the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox. So then the 16th century came, and Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation. So let's go first to the Catholic Church. The entire Catholic Mass centers to the Eucharist or the Lord's Supper. The beginning part of the Mass prepare people to accept the Eucharist, and the heart of the Mass is the Holy Communion itself. Then the Catholic actually consume the Eucharist, and then the Mass ends with the injunction of the fourth of the unity and reverence to God. So, ang sentro talaga ng nung mas bata ako, hindi ko naiintindihan nun kasi um, admittedly, when I was Catholic, may mga times na hindi talaga ako nagpa-partake or hindi ako pumipila para mag-take nga ng ano, communion, ng Holy Communion. Kumbaga, at nung mas bata ako, hindi ko naiintindihan yung importance niya. And then one of the simbang gabi, I remember, galit na galit yung lolo namin kasi hindi kami nag-partake nga ng communion. Ang pangalan nga niyan, ang communion in Kapampangan is Mekinabang. So, if you did not partake or if you did not go or to the church or to the mass and take the communion, parang you miss half of your life already for the Catholic faith. So, kumbaga, importante talaga na nagko-communion ka kung nasa Catholic ka. So, many people think that the Catholic Mass is busy and the Catholic churches kasi 'di ba progressive nga laging may misa ganyan, and probably what they're reacting to is the richness of environment. There's a lot to look. So, busy din kasi ang daming titignan, ang daming details, kumbaga napaka-intricate ng designs depende sa churches. I don't know, 'di ba kapag nagbibisita iglesia tayo makikita nyo ang dami-dami talaga, ang ganda-ganda ng mga churches, especially here in Pampanga. If you will look at the churches here in Pampanga, napakaganda ng mga churches. But of course, for the believers, the experience of the Mass is supposed to be more than an intellectual exercise. To be the transforming experience is to meant to be the mass deliberately involve the mind, soul, and the body. That is why one way of Catholic Church does this is to tap all the senses. Kaya nga 'di ba, yung sense of sight, yung smell, nagpapa-insenso din tayo, 'di ba? Sound, the choir, the taste, and the touch. So kumbaga, all our senses empirically na-experience natin yung mass kapag Catholic ka. And then, of course, several churches, particularly Roman Catholic churches, are built in the shape of the cross. If you can see here, it is looking from above, so top view siya. And the churches and altar are often placed crossing, the places, the halls, and the horizontal part. So this is the crossing, as you can see, and it shapes like a cross. Yeah. So next. Also in the are some of the important parts of the Catholic Church are the crucifix, which is the depiction of Jesus' crucifixion, a cloth-covered altar. Yan, yung merong mga paganyan. Hindi lang siya design. This one is called the altar of sacrifice. This where the priest prepares the Eucharist, and the altar is always at the front of the church and has a niche with the relic in it. And the relic is from the saint that the church is named after. So if you can see above this, whatever church you are in, example, kung Santo Niño yan, you will see a Santo Niño above that. If that is Lourdes, therefore you will see Lourdes above that. And other items also, there are two candles, a cup, which are the chalice, the paten, and a small pieces of linen in place over the wafer or the bread to protect it from being soiled, decanters, dish of waters, missals, and the pulpit. So you can see it here, and this is an example of the altar during Christmas time in the Catholic Church. Also located or a part of the church is also the tabernacle. So this is the tabernacle, which is the place consecrated Eucharist is kept before it make its grand appearance on the altar. And then also in some churches, I don't know if other churches have this up until today kasi yung iba wala na silang ganito, pero I see some churches na meron ganito in on the side. So either side or up front are the baptismal font. So merong mga kung saan sila binibinyagan yung mga baby. Also, kung makikita nyo, may mga depiction of the 14th station of the cross. Makikita nyo yan sa mga pillars in the side of the churches. Sa mga side, pagpasok mo, 'di ba, makakita ka ng holy water. So, ititiltil mo, you will dip your hand, 'di ba? And you will do the sign of the cross. This act recalls one of the baptismal commitment, the willingness to live the life for God. Also, in the side parts or the back part of the church, you will see the confession booth. So, yan, makikita nyo dyan siya. Pero in the Eastern Orthodox churches, of course, this is the first schism in 1054. Nahati yung church, the Catholic Church, humiwala yung Eastern Orthodox Church. And for them, meron sila na tong tinatawag nating iconatasis. So, ito yung holy doors that open and close during various part of the service. This screen is covered with two-dimension image or icons of Jesus, Mary, or other particular saints. In addition, in Eastern Orthodox also, mas into incense sila. All parts, madalas silang mag-insenso. Talagang lagi sila nag-i-insenso, filled with insenso yung services nila. Other things that you may notice about services in Eastern Orthodox churches also is that the clergy read the liturgies in native language of the congregation. The choirs sing the hymn without musical accompaniment alone with the congregation, and the Eucharist or the Orthodox rite is a leavened bread. Congregants dip the leavened bread into wine, then eat the bread with wine together. Early Protestant naman tayo. So this yung dalawa, and then if you can see the difference in the early Protestant churches. So for them kasi, unlike the Catholic, that the Catholic is designed with ornamentation that also reflects the Protestant idea that the relationship between God and humankind is direct mano a mano. It does not need interceders. It does not need icons. It does not it does need faith. So, kumbaga, mano a mano, it means that you don't need somebody to go between you and God. You do not need some icon to intercede or parang palakasan ito. Hindi mo na kailangan yon. You just need their faith with God alone. So Luther and other Protestant reformers emphasize singing, reading of the Word of God, and preaching. So they emphasize simplicity. Because Protestant churches focus on the sermon, their architectural emphasis is on the pulpit, where the minister preach is not on the altar. So Protestant churches are sparsely decorated. Like in this picture, if you can see, sobrang simple lang, walang cheche because they want to make the word and God the focus, not the building. Because as we remember, the word church, meaning in the Greek Septuagint, ecclesia, which means the called out ones, is not the building, but the church, who is the person who has been called by God. So, hindi siya yung church building. Ikaw yung church. If you are called by God from the darkness to the light, therefore you are a church. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin. Bakit? Simple lang yung makikita natin. And of course, nung lumitaw na yung Protestant churches, it says that we are all priests. The believer is the priest. Or Protestant churches don't have confessional because you don't need an interceder, you don't need an icon, you just need your faith. Therefore, you can confess to God one on one, mano a mano. So also in the Protestant church, they like it a plain lang na walang nakalagay na image ni Jesus in the crucifixion, because for them, the crucifix is not just an image of Jesus Christ's crucifixion, but the most important thing is his death and his resurrection. So the Jesus Christ that the Protestant is depicting is a Jesus Christ who is already victorious. Hindi siya naiwan dun sa cross, pero siya ay namatay at nabuhay ulit, at siya ngayon ay nandun na sa right hand of the Father. So afterwards, the Protestantism developed and it became the mega churches. So as you can see here, yan, mga thousands of people, millions of people ang nagagather in mega churches. And of course, meron ng mga ganito sa Philippines, gathering mega churches like 100,000 yung kanilang mga members. And then let's go to the mosque, the in Arabic, mashhid, which mean the place of ritual of prostration. In a nutshell, it is what mosque means. It is since Muhammad's time have served various functions: political, social, educational, as well as religious. And the main function of a mosque is a place devoted to the praise and worship of Allah. So a mosque is any place devoted to prayer, and you can see that the five star, which means the five pillars of the Muslim faith, and the crescent moon that reminds Muslims of Allah, the Creator, and the lunar calendar that marks Islamic holy days. Later on, we will be discussing holy days. Attached to the mosque in Muslim countries is a tower called the minaret, and the muezzin calls the people to pray. So this is the muezzin or the minaret. And sometimes there are ablutions rooms wherein they can actually um, wash their feet before going to the prayer. When you enter the mosque, you may notice that the mosque don't actually have furniture. Everyone sit on the floor, not pews or chairs. And in larger mosques, the carpeting often has a design that marks out the prayer line so that the people know where to sit, so to leave enough room for someone else. So as you can see here, one marker per person. The wall that faces Mecca, the wall Muslim face when they pray, or the Kaaba, is called the Qibla. So this is the Qibla, set in the walls at niche and of a clove called the mirab, and that point to the direction of Mecca or the Kaaba. And the mirab is not the altar, even though it looks kinda like an altar. It functions to direct the Muslim's mind and thought towards God. Also, in the right of the ark is the raised platform called the minbar. It's similar to pulpit. This is where the imam reads the prayer and gives sermons. Also in Muslims, you don't see statues or pictures, but you will often see a calligraphy of verses from the Quran, like this one here. So let's go to the last section for prelims, which are the holidays on the calendar. Holidays and their derivative holidays are important to every religion tradition. Holidays celebrated event and people important to religion. On holidays, worshipper takes special note of their own existence and it means within the context of their beliefs. In many nations, these holidays influence government politics, especially the school calendar. So like in February 12th, guys, February 12th, February 25. But in February 12th, it is the Chinese New Year, even though we are not Chinese, but it still influence us and therefore holiday pa rin sa atin. Types of calendar, just in case you are curious, there are calendars adjusting and keeping track of the natural division of time. Folks who come up with calendar look into the heaven and stars or the celestial bodies and as a basis for determining the calendar. So the basic types of calendar is first the lunar calendar dating back to the Sumerians. The lunar calendar is the oldest type of calendar and is based on the synodic months, that is the complete cycle phases of the moon. So new moon to full moon to new moon to full moon. So that is the lunar calendar. Then we go to the lunisolar calendar. In this type of calendar, the months are lunar and the years are solar. According to the ancient literature, the formula for the lunisolar calendar is mostly originated in Mesopotamia in the third millennium of BCE. Then next is the solar calendar. This type of dating back is based on the time it takes for the Earth to revolve once around the Sun, which is 365 years and one fourth. So Egyptians were most among the first people who used the solar calendar, which they created by using the annual reappearance of Cyrus the dog star, and the eastern sky as fixed point. This event was reported to have coincided with the annual flooding of the Nile River. Early Indo-Europeans also used the solar calendar to track seasonal changes and religious days associated with the season. Then in the beginning of the Christian calendar was based on the Julian calendar and was introduced by Julius Caesar in the 46 BCE. The Julian calendar was good except it didn't account for the extra one fourth, 365 and one fourth. So it just says 365. So ex- um because of that, we have leap years. In the late 1500s, Pope Gregory the Eighth corrected the flow of the Julian calendar. His calendar, called the Gregorian calendar, provides for an ordinary year for 3 years of 365 days, and that the fourth year will be the leap year, which is 366 days every fourth year. Pope Gregory made the change so that the Easter, or the most important Christian holiday, would be celebrated as a spring festival. The timing for Easter Sunday depends on both vernal equinox and the moon phase, where the Easter fall determines the calendar positioning for the rest of church movable phase. Roman Catholic adopted the Gregorian calendar in 1582 and the Protestant countries accepted it in 1752. The Eastern churches, however, stuck with the Julian calendar. The result, in some years, a month difference may fall between the certain Christian celebration in the Eastern and Western Christian churches. So let's go to Christian calendar. Of course, as I've said earlier, the Easter is the most important time of the year or holiday for the Christian religion. So we will talk about the holidays, time of year, the year, and what is the meaning or the significance of these years. So for the Easter Sunday, it's celebrated between March 21 to April 25. So this year, I think it's earlier, between April to May for the Eastern Orthodox Church base in this ecclesiastical calendar. This celebration of the resurrection of Jesus, Easter, is the most sacred of the Christian holidays and is celebrated with a special service, feasting, giving of eggs, and family gathering. Second is Christmas. Of course, we celebrate it on December 25, and Orthodox celebrated it during January 7. Although, disclaimer, there is a history behind this. December 25 is not the birth of Jesus Christ. It is far beyond the biblical explanation or representation of the birth of Jesus Christ, but it is not about the date, but it's about who are you celebrating. So the day that commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ, it's just a commemoration. It is not the exact date of the birth of Jesus Christ. Christmas is celebrated with the evening service, often Christmas Eve feasting and exchanges of gifts. Epiphany is the festival that occurs 12 days after Christmas. It is the celebration of the three magi or the wise men, or sometimes we call them the three kings who brought gifts to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Then the Ash Wednesday marks the first day of the Lent for the occurs in 46 days before Easter Sunday, a time for fasting for Roman Catholics. So yun yung nilalagyan na ng ash dito sa ulo, and it represents that from ash you came and you ash from ashes to ashes. So kumbaga, sa alikabok ikaw ay nabuo, sa alikabok ikaw din ay babalik. Lent is a 40-day period not including the Sundays that begins on Ash Wednesday and concludes with the Holy Saturday or the Black Saturday, a period of fasting and prayer that leads up to the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ and Easter Sunday. So if you will remember, kapag nag-Ash Wednesday na, pag Fridays, bawal na yung baboy. Kaya laging may galunggong at saka merong pritong galunggong at saka may munggo pag Friday. So yan yung pinagmulan niyan. Kasi nga, Ash Wednesday is the mark and Lent is the mark 40 days of fasting for Catholics. So Palm Sunday is the Sunday before the Easter Sunday and is the official beginning of the Holy Week, yung Palaspas, and celebrate Jesus' triumphal return to Jerusalem. Holy Thursday is celebrated the Thursday of the Holy Week, recognizing the Last Supper as well as the Simba or the Bisita Iglesia. Good Friday naman celebrated the Friday or the final Friday, yung pagkamatay ni Jesus Christ was been executed by the Romans, and then Thursday Ascension Day occurs 40 days after the Easter, commemorates the ascension of Jesus into heaven. Pentecost or Whit Sunday occurs 50 days after. Pente means Pente or 50, 5. Yeah. Pentecost is marks the when the Holy Spirit descended up unto the apostles in Acts. So let's go to the Jewish calendar. The Jewish calendar, if the Christian calendar and the Eastern Orthodox, they use the Julian, and the Catholic Church they use the Gregorian. The Jewish use the lunisolar. This year the years are solar and the months are lunars. The year consists of 12 months based on 354-day cycle, and it begins at the time of the new moon of the Tishri, or the Hebrew name time period from September to October. So here are the holidays for the Jewish people. The Rosh Hashanah, or between the mid-September to early October. During the 2 days of the new year, God in heaven symbolically judges the Jews. The shofar, yung horn, is blown to awaken people to repentance. Yung Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, the 10th day after the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, observed as a fast day, allows Jewish people to remain in contemplation and worship. And then we have the Passover, which is the Pesach, celebrated during the spring between March to April, the celebration of the Exodus of the Israelite from Egypt last 8 days. The first two are and the last 2 days of Passover are the most holy, and the Jews come together in special Seder celebration. Then we have the Shabuot, spring, which is late May to early June, celebrating giving the Ten Commandments on the Mount Sinai, connected with the conclusion of the barley harvest in ancient Israel. The Sukkot, or the Tabernacle, celebrated during the fall harvest, late September through October, a 9 days festival that marks the divine protection given to Israelites during wandering through the wilderness. Also celebrated the fall harvest season. Purim, celebrated during the 14th day of the Hebrew month of Adar, marks the deliverance of Jews of Persia from the persecution of Haman, the prime minister of King Ahasuerus. So, if you can see, they have lots of celebration there in Judaism. Next is the Muslim calendar. We're very familiar with this kasi nga, there are a lot of holidays also that we commemorate here in the Philippines during the Muslim calendar. So Muslims use the lunar cycle consists of 12 months. A year has 354 through 355 days, and the months of Muslim calendar and their Arabic names are Muraham, Safar, Rabi al-Walwal, Rabial Al-Thani, Jumada Al-Awwal, Jumada Al-Thani, Rahab Shaban, Ramadan, Shawwal, Duwal Qada, and Dual Hijjah. If you can see, it's Ramadan is actually a name of a month in Muslim calendar. Because the Muslim calendar doesn't periodically add a month to keep it in line with the solar year, the months move backward through the season occurring 11 days earlier each year. This calendar begins its dating system in the year 622, the year that the Prophet Muhammad and his follower traveled from Mecca to Medina. So, Ramadan, celebrated during the ninth month of the Muslim calendar, the holiest Muslim holiday. Ramadan is a month-long fast to celebrate time that Muhammad received the Quran. So, Ramadan, they don't eat during the daytime and then they will eat during the nighttime. Fitr is celebrated at the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Eid al-Fitr is a joyous celebration that brings together family and friends. Exchange blessing to good wishes. And then Al-Yat Al-Qadar falls on the eve of the 26th day fast during the holy month of Ramadan. Al-Yat Al-Qadar is a celebration of the night when Prophet Muhammad received the revelation of the Quran. Eid, Eid al-Adha is a celebration in the 12th month, a 3 days festival that culminates the Hajj by recalling the willingness of Abraham to sacrifice his son Ishmael in obedience to Allah. And then we have the Al-Yat Al-Shira wal Al-Midraj, celebrated on the 27th month of Rajab. This celebration marks the journey by the Prophet Muhammad, escorted by the angel Gabriel through hell and heaven into the presence but not in the sight of God. Al-Hijra is celebrated on the first Muharram of the Muslim calendar. In the term hijra means migration, which means that ito yung panahon na it's the Muslim New Year, meaning it is the moments in 622 BCE, CE, wherein when Muhammad went from Mecca to Medina. And then they have the commemoration of Muhammad's birthday, Maulid al-Nabi, the 12th month of Rabi al-Walal, and then Al-Yat Laylat al-Baraa or Saib Irabara, celebrated night before the 15th day of the month of Shaban. This time when Muslims believe their destinies are set for the coming year. As it occurs shortly before Ramadan, Muslims spend the time preparing for the new year. So let's go to the Hindu calendar. For the Hindu, following the calendar dates back in 1000 BCE, is based primarily on the lunar cycle. Their years divided into 3 periods of 4 months each. Each period commences with a spiritual rite. So we have the Mahashivarati, which is in mid-February. Mahashivarati is a joyous festival dedicated to the god Shiva. Holi, celebrated on the full moon day of the month of Palguna. Holi is a spring festival and most colorful of the Hindu celebration. It lasts for 2 days. Ravami, Ramanavami is celebrated during late March. Rama Navami is celebration of the birth of Rama, who is viewed as the reincarnation of God Vishnu. Janmashtami observed the night of the new moon during the month of ba- ba- Bhadrapada or month of August to September. It is a joyous celebration of the birth of the Lord Krishna. Dasera is a celebration over the 10th day period during the month of Ashbina. It is a celebration which Hindus honor the goddess Durga. One of the main feature of the festival is the remembrance of the epic history of Ramayana, or as you remember Prince Rama. Diwali is the new moon day of the month of Kartika in the Hindu calendar, and a 5 days festival that focuses on the prayer and meditation to Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity. consort Vishnu, Durga, the goddess of primal energy, and Sarasvati, the goddess of learning. So one of the most popular, I think, is the Diwali. I always see this festival for the Hindu people. Then let's go to the Buddhist people. We are very familiar with this because the Buddhist people actually they combine the solar and the lunar calendar elements. So the year is solar while all the religious festival follow the lunar calendar. Although this this while all the religious festival follow the lunar calendar, from country to country it's different. So it's different for Mahayana and the Theravada. So let's go to their holidays, which are very konti lang. The Wesak on April 8th, celebrated by the Mahayana Buddhists. It marks the anniversary of the birth of Buddha. Nirvana Day, or the Mahaparina Nirvana. It is an observant of the anniversary of the death of Buddha. Losar, or the Tibetan New Year. It is the New Year celebration among the Losar Buddhist sect in Tibet. And the Bodhi Day, or it celebrates when Gautama took his place under the Bodhi and vowed to remain there until he attained the supreme enlightenment. So that ends our discussion for and recording for this. Um, Again, I'm hoping that you will be able to enjoy our trip around the world. You can review this and replay this over and over again if you are not if you have questions. And if ever you have questions also, pwede nyo akong i-chat. I'm very much willing na sagutin kayo. So thank you so much, and I hope that I'll see you next week. Okay.